Hello and welcome back to my channel, where today spoilers are indeed ahead as I break down Stranger Things 4 Volume 2. These two supersized episodes wrapped up the hit series' 4th season, and as a fan of this show, I could not be more excited to talk about what I think is genuinely the peak of this show. I think the Duffer Brothers and everybody has been able to manage to grow this show and actually improve upon every season as it continues to evolve. And as for these two episodes, my jaw literally was dropped. Gasp filled the room of my family watch party this past weekend in an adrenaline ride that prioritized the pathos and the personalities of the characters. There was earned shock in every scene that derived from the strong bond that the audience has to the characters up to this point. It's not a story that we've necessarily seen before, and I think that's probably because whenever we get a lot of these nostalgic ridden stories that focus on an era of the past, it's so glorified, it's so idealized. And I think what this season in particular really gets into, and what I really love about how the Duffer Brothers look at the 1980s, is they really show the warts of the decade. They show the ugliness and all of the, all the decadence, but also all of the things underneath the decadence. And it allows the environment and the setting of Stranger Things to feel so lived in. And so even though it's based on a real place, it not only feels as real as the reality it's based on, but it still also has a distinct vibe that matches the tonal approaches and the thematic choices that the Duffers have for Stranger Things as a piece. Now, the Duffers, who wrote and directed both episodes 8 and 9, are just masters of pacing and knowing when to edit. Their editors need to be commended, because I honestly think Stranger Things is the best edited show on television. Not only being able to quickly remind audiences of scenes from season 1 that are being linked back at the end of this season, but they're able to match the tension and the pace and never let it ease out. This show constantly is rising its tension, and it's just a Herculean feat that they're able to never feel overblown or overdrawn. It doesn't feel bloated. It just feels like magically they're keeping this roller coaster ride going without you getting tired of it. And how they always come up with some great insert shots or establishing shots so you know exactly where you are. When you have such a sprawling narrative with so many different characters and so many different geographies, there's such clear visuals, like an American flag when we're going from Russia back to Hawkins. There's such ease in the way they direct, because you're not all the time thinking about all of the insane choices that go about bringing a piece of television like Stranger Things to life. To withstand a story for this long, just for Volume 2, but when you look at this whole season in totality, it's just masterful work. Now, something I also really enjoyed about Volume 2 specifically were all the dialogue resets. There were so many great scenes that not only were great at throwing you off, because they all seem to be like scenes where the characters are like planning what they're going to do next weekend, or these farewell scenes. So you're like, okay, well, which ones are you just kind of giving us as a red herring and they're not actually going to die, or which ones are actually going to be goodbye scenes? I mean, down to when Hopper returns and is reunited with Elle, I was so in the mindset that they were trying to trick us that I honestly thought Vecna was just going to turn into Hopper, like we'd seen happen with Max's mom and Lucas in this season. So they're just so great at managing to find scenes that are so honest and authentic, and I think on a rewatch I'll really get out of so much, because I'm not looking to try and outsmart the Duffers. The scenes do a fantastic job of resetting where our characters are, how they're feeling emotionally, but also throwing us off the scent of where the story's going next. That unpredictability of the narrative also comes through here. The world of Stranger Things feels real because the characters of Stranger Things feels real. No one feels like they're here to push a platform or to say a cool one-liner. It just feels that they're part of this environment. And I think that's why the weight and stakes of this show is far exceeding that of its other counterparts, both in television and in film. No one feels manipulated by the writers or the directors. The Duffer Brothers, you really can't feel them forcing change or forcing the scenes to play out a certain way because they have a story, a grand vision in mind. The writer's ability to not waste a single thread of story or character is also commendable, because you never feel that you're wasting your time. The Argyle stuff, how it was able to not only find Nina, but also the fact that they bring in the Surfer Boy pizza thing, because that's how we build the sensory deprivation tank in one of the freezers. It's golden, because you never feel that the show is doing something for a quick joke or something in passing. Everything loops back, and that's a very rewarding and satisfying venture as an audience member because there's such trust in the creative team. Another storyline that I really enjoyed in Volume 2 was the Eleven and Papa farewell, in a sense, because I think at this point Brenner is dead. One of the predictions I called in my Theories and Predictions video. I found this storyline particularly poignant because something I was worried about in Volume 1 was the redemption, possibly, of Brenner. Because he's a very complex character, and I think that in his own way he did love Eleven. But I think that the show would have done something irresponsible if they redeemed him, because especially in the first season, and I noticed this on my rewatch right before Volume 1 was released, it was such an abusive relationship, and I think this show would have done a disservice if they had made these two reconcile that, or at least come to peace with that. Because I think that abuse is not something that is easily tied up with a bow, and I think that's what this show does really well. Something that they're doing really well with Will is that we don't get these neat little scenes that reach easy conclusions and then we can move on to the next chapter of our lives. So I like that there isn't closure with this relationship, that they both carry a weight based on their past lives, but Eleven doesn't give Papa the peace that he so wants. Because I do think it's important that Eleven does not allow people to take advantage of her. And all of this, I thought, again, really poignant, with a lot of poise in the writing and also the performances. I mean, this show has always had great performances, but this season in particular, Volume 2 in particular, I mean, the whole cast took it up to an 11. I couldn't resist. I mean, Noah Schnapp, the monologue in the car to Mike was just brutal and breathtaking. Charlie Heaton's one look in the rearview mirror when he saw his brother in pain was just so heartbreaking. Gaten Matarazzo's monologue to Eddie Munson's uncle just brought me to tears. Caleb McLaughlin, I think, really stepped up this season. In past seasons, he's either been very angry or very, childish and stupid. So I really like that we got to know more about Lucas, I feel, in this season. He got more dimensions, and I think that came with a maturity that they offered the character that the actor then took advantage of. Because especially with all the stuff that was going on with Max, it was really great to see. That type of character would usually be the female character, would be the girlfriend, the wife. Joyce has played that character in past seasons. So I liked giving it to a character like Lucas because you got to see a similar trope, but new life was given into it. And I kind of think that's how Stranger Things works overall. It takes things we're familiar with, but puts a spin on it, gives it a different vibe or a different perspective. Sadie Sink really elevated this season. Glad to give that character a lot more dignity than I feel. I feel like she's been in the background, and that was fine in the past, but now, again, front and center, and man, does she deliver so much just raw emotionality. I really loved, again, another thing I'm glad they kind of touched up from Volume 1, she really didn't like Billy, and Billy kind of made her life terrible. And so I'm glad that they kind of talk about, when there's somebody who dies, it's kind of tough to rectify all these emotions. And she might have been a little bit at peace when Billy died because that threat, that abuse that she was suffering from him within their home was away. So I like that we get that monologue where you can see how much she's wrestling with these conflicting emotions about how to perceive death overall, but how Billy's death emotionally affects her singularly. Millie Bobby Brown, always at the top of her game. She really is the captain of this show, and she leads it with such integrity. All she has to do is put out her hand, and you just see the psychic force of energy and just anguish that comes out of her. The music in this season particularly was fantastic. I really loved how they brought back certain themes. They brought back the eulogy theme from when Nancy is in the Hollins bathroom and she looks at the picture of Barb and she's upset about not being able to tell Barb's mother and father the truth. They bring back that theme when Gaten Matarazzo's Dustin is telling about Eddie Munson and how he died and that he was a hero. So I like that they brought back certain themes, but I also think that some of the remix they did to the Journey song and then to Running Up That Hill, of course, were just so electrifying. That Running Up That Hill remix, when they intercut with everybody, doing their thing as Max's limbs are twisting, which was such a shocking moment because of when you see her arms twist, you see the grit that Stranger Things has now, that they're no holds barred. Things are going to happen. There's going to be consequences. And that consequence, I think, is something that maybe has been lacking a little bit from Stranger Things, at least from our core team. So when her limbs started to go, it was just shocking. Just such a shocking moment of television. But then cut in between Nancy with her sawed-off shotgun, laying into Vecna, who became a fireball, as Kate Bush just blares in the background. Just the music, Kyle Dixon and Michael Stein, what great work they've done throughout this entire show, setting the mood, setting the atmosphere, but particularly in Volume 2, they were a necessary and vital component to the aesthetical composition of this show. And we did lose some people. I will talk more about my theories about Max in a theories and predictions video that I'll be making, but we did lose Eddie. I shouldn't have been that surprised to see him lose because Stranger Things has done this to us 1,000 times at this point, but they still had me guessing, they still had me believing, and I think that's also because Joseph Quinn is such a wonderful actor that I just wanted him to make it out. But his death scene was just, again, heartbreaking, heartrending. I thought Gaten Matarazzo did a great job being his scene partner in that moment. Just their friendship, their camaraderie was so, it was so heartwarming. I really loved them, and it was hard to see him go. And the story of Eddie this season I thought was so powerful because you saw a character who unfortunately got lost. His identity was taken over, and his legacy is now tarnished. And people will never know the hero he was, but he'll know. And I think all the people that he cared about will know. And I think what this season is specifically addressing is that your truth is more important than the truth of those who hurt you. They may not agree with you. You may not have a consensus that everybody agrees with, but as long as you're sure of who you are, that's all that matters. I think that was done with Max as her conflicting emotions about Billy's death really comes to a head in this season. Lucas obviously is trying to discover himself. Will is obviously really torturously trying to tell people how he feels and just being lost because of what has happened in his past. Of course, we had the whole monster or superhero conversation and that dichotomy with Eleven and Papa. But I think that true suffering allows the characters to be emotionally vulnerable in a way that's relatable and invites their audience in. And I think the expanded time that Stranger Things has allotted, because it's a television show, even though it kind of is structured like a film, it's given more time because it's a television season, and that allows the audience to really understand who these characters are. Going back to that shot when the Journey song was playing, you pan through all the people in the car. You're kind of like, no, none of them can die. You have such a connection to them. Nobody feels like, dead weight in this ensemble. And that's a testament to the actors, it's a testament to the writers, and it's a testament to the Duffer Brothers. I also think that this show really, you can sense that it's coming to a close. Not only in so many of the shocking twists and the heartbreaking character beats that just bring such finality to certain characters, but I also think in what it's teasing. That final scene was just breathtaking. I had a feeling it was going to end on a cliffhanger and they were going to really annoy us as we wait, I think, 2 years for the final season, and they'll probably split it in 2 volumes. Who knows? We'll find out probably soon enough. Just chills. So well done, so well executed. Again, you feel the threat, you feel the stakes, and they have teased such a brilliant season 5. I really cannot wait for this final season, and I do feel they're going to stick the landing because it's clear with this 4th season that the Duffers are growing as filmmakers. And I think they're not relying so much on pop culture, which I never had a problem with, but you can just sense that they're feeling more confident as storytellers. So that's my review of Stranger Things 4 Volume 2. Let me know what you thought of these last 2 mega-sized episodes. Did you enjoy them as much as I did? And make sure to check out my other Stranger Things coverage on the channel coming up soon. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to not miss any new videos from Spoilers Ahead with Anthony Post. Thank you all so much, and I'll see you at the movies.